Okay, so here we've got the chicken finished. This is what it looks like when it's completely done. This is going to give you sort of a heads up. And it's still really warm. So I'm going to come over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get it ready. And my pan's hot. This is what's left from when I got finished cooking my chicken. You can see there's little brown bits in there. Those are what we call kitchen treasures. And at this point, you don't have to do this, but I like doing it. It seems to get a little bit more flavor. You could actually add everything at one time and just cook it into the sauce. I prefer to a little bit of a, I don't know, bring out some of the caramelization of the mushrooms. So I'll add to this pan. I'll just cook them a little bit. So I'm going to pull them back out and put them into here, so I have to cook the chicken again. I add a little bit of butter. Paula Dean would be very happy to see me doing this step. And I prefer, when I'm cooking, particularly mushrooms, I love this. I know this is the Himalayan pink salt, which they get it at Trader Joe's now, and there's this little twist thing, which makes it just so much easier to use. A little bit of that, not too much. It's just got a little bit of, I didn't realize that was on there. Okay. A little bit of pepper. I'm just going to do is just kind of get these things started. Okay. You can see right now my pan's really hot. It's starting to smoke. Alright? You see that? Which is a good sign. And what I'm trying to do is scrape up some of those little brown bits in there. There we go. These are releasing their juice. And at that same time, I can actually start to scrape up those brown bits and incorporate into the mushrooms themselves. Now when your pan starts to get a little bit dry, you don't want this to start to get burnt. So at this stage, grab a little bit of your Marsala wine. Not a lot, just a little bit. Just sort of juice it. Look at that. Look at that. Oh yeah. Be careful. This will catch on fire. Believe me, it'll catch on fire. Be very careful with that. Let that come down, let that reduce. So basically I'm looking for this liquid to go away. Once I see that liquid dry up, these mushrooms are about where I want them. I'm going to pull them out and I'm going to go to the last step. This goes together really quick at this stage. So I'm just waiting for that to dry up a little bit. Pull a little more liquid out of the mushroom. You know, it's not really browning them, it's just more like giving a little extra flavor. Just really put them in just raw. But we do that sometimes, just stick them in for speed reasons. This here gives a little more, creates a little bit more flavor. You can see the pan starting to dry out. You see that? We're just about there, just about ready to pull these out. See the color? That's what we're looking for. A little bit of golden color on these. If you could smell this, it's amazing. See how dry that pan is? What's left on here is oil now. There's no more of the liquid from the Marsala. So keep that in mind, alright? Now, this is when it starts to come together. I take my mushrooms out. You don't have to get them all out. I'm just going to get the majority of them out. I'm going to bring the chicken back in here. And if you were cooking this right out of the refrigerator, you want to take that chicken out probably an hour before and let it get to room temperature, and it's fine. It's not going to go bad or get you sick or anything. This pan's really hot right now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is pull that over here. Here's my chicken, which now I'm just going to add back. Let me put a little bit of butter in there. I just want to make sure I've got a little bit of lubrication on the bottom of that. You can see how hot this pan is by how much smoke is coming up. Okay, swirl that around in there. It's good. Okay, now we're going to create that nice sauce. And there's some juices in here. You can see that? That's what you're looking for. That's good. Alright, all at one time. Wham, bam, think, bam. Okay? Now here's where it gets, this is important. If this was the chicken that I said was sitting out for an hour at the refrigerator, you kind of want to get it warm again. And that will take maybe a minute or two longer than what I'm doing right now. But this chicken's already warm, so I don't need to do that. So now, if this is what a critical stage, this is what you're going to want to do. Now you want to get this Marsala in here. Kind of in a swirl. Be careful. This will catch on fire. Alright? If you're not too sure, take it off the heat and do it. There you go. We're going to create that sauce right now. This is all going to get pumped up. Let that cook in. And as you can start seeing now, what's happening is the actual flour is incorporated into the sauce. It'll start thickening up. Almost like a roux. We already have the butter. You saw me put butter in the pan. There's some oil residue left on the pan from when we were cooking everything else. And then obviously the flour from the chicken. So if you add those combinations with the liquid, you're actually making a sauce. And you can see it's already, look at that, it's already starting to thicken up. See that? Or we call it tightening up, whatever you want to call it. And you can see that. And what's happening too at the same time, we're starting to cook a little of the alcohol out in the wine, and it's creating that flavor. Now this is, you could eat it like this, by the way. You don't need to even add that at that point, but this just puts another dimension into it. Remember what I always talk about in all my videos? We want to build our flavors, create this incredible chicken dish that is just, it's marvelous. It's really a simple thing. We're going to actually, tonight, we're going to serve it over just Cooper's favorite, which is basically white rice. You can do egg noodles. You can do any kind of, like a garlic pasta would be good with this. It doesn't make a difference. You can experiment with anything that you like, or just have it as a side dish. Okay, now you can see, look at this. It's thickened it up. Look at that. Hardly any, looks like there's hardly any liquid. That was a whole cup. Now, at this point, I'm going to add back my mushrooms. Okay. Stir that in, incorporate that. You can see this is starting to come together. Okay. That's cool. Man, right there, that right there's a meal. You don't even need to add that, but this just gives it a whole different dimension, particularly when you pour it over the rice. And now I'm going to add my cup, a demi-glace, or if you have brown stock, that will work, or chicken broth, which of all the three things I would prefer not to use the chicken broth, but that's, a lot of people like chicken broth, so that works fine. But this, I know the beef with the chicken seems different, but let me tell you, it gives it a whole different dimension. And this is what makes it ours special in the restaurant business. This is why we have people come back for more and more of this, is because of the beef with the chicken. This yin and yin thing, it just works. Now I'm going to bring that down. I'm going to bring it, look at it, it's coming to a nice simmer. Now, at this point, this is when I'm going to add my green onions. Okay. Don't add them all. I'm going to add a few for the very top for a little bit of a, for presentation purposes. This is going to give it some flavor. Some people use parsley. I think that the green onion actually gives it a little bit more. I know parsley doesn't have a whole lot of flavor a lot of times unless you use it right at the end. This actually, when you cook it in, gives it a little bit of a flavor to it and makes it look nice. Make sure you cut these on the bias though when you cut your green onions, so it looks a lot nicer on the plate. So now I'm just going to cook that down. You can see how thick that sauce, look at that. When I pull that away, look at that. This is just awesome. If you can just smell this right now. And Foxy's over here still, my trusty dog, waiting for anything to drop on the floor. You can see how that's just coming together, how thick that sauce is right now. So I'm only going to cook this for maybe about another minute or two. Bring that heat down a little bit. And you can see how that all just tied in. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? And there's one last thing that really finishes this sauce, which is the most important part. This is what brings it all together. We're just about there. This is how fast this is. And here we go. This is what's going to make it work. I'm going to take the heat off now. Okay? Heat off. And now I'm going to add my butter. Just in a few different spots of this pan. This is going to give a nice silky look to it and a nice creaminess. And when it hits the roof of the mouth, it's going to be just delicious. There you go. You know, Paul is probably going, oh, I love that cook. And look, I'm just going to mix that in now. I'm not boiling it in. I'm letting the heat melt the butter, bringing that together. Get that nice sheen to it. Oh my God, if you can just smell this. Amazing. Okay. All right, and now we're going to plate it. Okay. Look at that. It's just perfect. Now I just wish you guys could smell this. My God. Look at this. You can see how that sauce is really thickened up, and that's because of the flour that was on the chicken. Bring that up there. And this is a very inexpensive meal, matter of fact. I think that this thing might have cost at the very most somewhere around maybe $8 to $9 at the very most, and it's very elegant. You can do this at any dinner party. And as you can see, this is a perfect amount for this dish. And now we'll finish it. Back over here. We'll get our leftover green onions. And if you do it from the height, they actually fall better than trying to do it down here, by the way. So, even though some get on the board, that's no big deal. Nobody's going to see it at the table. Yeah. And there you go. Chicken Marsala.